meeting, I am also asking that individual councillors, staff and residents consider making a private donation as well through the GoFundMe page. I'm sure it will be much appreciated by Sarah and her family. On behalf of all of us, please be assured our thoughts, prayers and support are with Sarah and the Gandy family at this time. Any questions, comments? Okay, if not, we will move on to correspondence. One piece of correspondence here. It's not very lengthy, so I will read it out. To Mayor and Councillors, it has recently come to our attention that the town of Holyrood may be interested in selling or donating the railway caboose located on your marina grounds. At a recent council meeting, we discussed what a wonderful addition this would be to the Avondale Railway Museum site. If you should decide to move forward with plans to sell or donate, we would like you to give us the first option to buy and receive. Our current museum would benefit greatly from this addition. We would love to have it refurbished so it could serve as a lasting legacy to the importance the railway played in the lives and development of not just Avondale and Holyrood, but the entire Conception Bay Centre region. Also, it will be noted on the caboose that it was donated or originally came from the town of Holyrood. We look forward to hearing from you, and that is from Owen Mahoney, Mayor of Avondale. Any questions or comments on that?
No, I was going to comment that it's part of the public safety, so I'll bring it up at that time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's all the correspondence. So we will now move on to planning and development. So we have Deputy Mayor, Councillor Windsor. Deputy Mayor.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Our Planning and Development Committee met virtually on April the 13th with Gary Corbett, Krista Turnbull, Councillor Steve Windsor, and myself in attendance. The committee discussed a large number of applications that evening, which included residential homes, lots, home-based businesses, and accessory buildings. We had a long list of agenda items to get through, and you'll notice that when I get to the motions this evening. But before I do that, I just wanted to give an update on the town plan review. Our committee meets every Wednesday consistently. We review a section of the town plan at a time, and things are going really well with our discussion and identification of items that we would like to change or include. And I believe we are on schedule as planned. So in moving forward, if we think that we need some extra time, we'll put it in there. But right now we're doing pretty good at moving along with the town plan. So for our motions this evening, first we have our permits, our permit listing. Be it resolved to table and approve the attached permit listing. 10 permits were issued from April the 5th to April the 22nd, 2022. Permit number 03-014-22 to permit number 04-023-22. And those include everything from site prep to pre-site permits, fence, painting, occupancy permits, an extension, a garage, and a new residential part 1 of that application. So moved.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Woodford, seconded by Councillor Windsor. Further discussion? If not, all those in favour? Contrary-minded, motion is carried.
Next, we have a residential application for 37 to 41 Kennedy's Lane. The zoning is residential medium density. Be it resolved that the town of Holyrood approve subdividing of 3 lots at 37 to 41 Kennedy's Lane in principle and subject to the town's development regulation. Each lot will be on well and septic. So moved.
Is there a
Yeah, we wanna discuss that after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Bruce King. Further discussion.
Yeah, so just to give a little bit more information, a requirement of this application is that the developer address the culvert that is discharging water on parcel C of the subdivided piece. Each lot will require a development application before approval is given to build.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
I have some comments, if I can. Okay. Okay, it's a little update here on that file, and before we get to that, Deputy Mayor was absolutely correct, and the overall town plan review is going very well. And I want to give a shout out to the CAO, Krista Turnbull, and Reg Garland, our planner. It's exceptional process. So on this particular file, and actually the one that follows it, the same commentary will apply. So I just want to say, the file was discussed at great lengths. It's been going on for, I think, 3 months. It started in early February, and bridged two committees, the Infrastructure Public Works Committee and the Planning and Development Committee. We had a site visit and a special meeting of the two committees to discuss. The application has been revised twice, and the last revision right before the last public council meeting, which is why I never got to in front of the public council meeting at that time. We didn't have enough time to review fully and answer any questions or get clarifications that different councillors needed. And I just want to acknowledge the staff and the committee members, council, and the developer for working together to find some common ground. However, I do feel that the town's subdivision regulations should apply to the application. Subdivision, by definition, is a plot of land that's divided into two or more lots for development. Okay? And the regulations in our town plan include requirements for design standards certified by an engineer, including drainage plans and landscaping plans. And there's also requirements for the allowance of 10% public green space to be allocated for all resident use or payment by the developer to the town in lieu of. And my personal opinion is that we have a duty to apply these regulations in full and insist on raising the bar of expectations for this and future developments in the town. And for those reasons, I will not support the motion or the one that follows in a different area of the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Windsor. Any other questions or comments on that motion? Okay, if not, all those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? One against, motion is carried.
Okay, the next application is for residential 5 lots. The location is 37 to 47 Country Path. The zoning is residential medium density. Be it resolved that the town of Holyrood approve the subdividing of 5 lots at 37 to 47 Country Path in principle, and subject to the town's development regulation. I'll just continue on there, Mayor. Town services to be determined in consultation with the Director of Infrastructure and Public Works, and each lot will require a development application before approval is given to build. So moved.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor King. Further discussion.
What area of the country path is that in?
That is 37 to 47, so it's down closer to,
Just on the fair end.
yeah, closer to
Just before the pole
center
line
line.
going in.
What's that, Councillor Buckham?
Just before the pole line going in.
Right. I couldn't get a benchmark area. Okay, any other questions or comments?
Yeah, so the drainage and all that.
Is there in Shepherd.
Well, everything has been vetted through the committee.
Yeah.
We've looked at that, like as Steve said, in detail.
Okay.
And it's just subdividing. They're not putting houses on it, right? They're just selling it off as pieces of land.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? One against, two against. Councillor King, your You're against?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, like this is just going to be one lot at a time, so are we following subdivision regulations there?
Okay. All right. 5-4. Councillor Bucko, you in favour?
Yes, I am.
Okay. 5, 4, and 2 against. The motion is carried.
The next application is a home-based business, towing and snow clearing services at 36 Green Acres. The zoning is residential medium density. Be it resolved that the town of Holyrood approve the above home-based business application in principle, subject to the town of Holyrood development regulations, and subject to the following: no scrap vehicles are stored at this site, no mechanical repair operations happening at this site. An application was advertised and no comments were received from the public by the deadline date. So moved.
Okay, moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Crowley. Further discussion? So all the checks and balances are put in place with the conditions. So everything seems to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, all those for, those against, motion is carried.
The next application is a variance for an accessory building at 7 Saul Drive. The zoning is residential medium density. Be it resolved that the town of Holyrood reject the application for a 30 by 38 accessory building at 7 Saul Drive, as it does not meet the town's regulations. So moved.
Okay, moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Windsor, and this is to reject the application. Any further discussion? Okay, if not, all those in favour to reject, please raise your hands.
Aye.
Those against, motion is carried.
The next application is for a residential home located at 1 Northside Road. The zoning is residential medium density. Be it resolved that the town of Holyrood approve the above application under Regulation 10 of the town of Holyrood Development Regulations. So moved.
Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor King. Further discussion?
Can I get a little bit more information? I was reading the minutes, but I'd still like to make sure I got.
It's a non-conforming
ducks in a
lot.
row.
It's a non-conforming lot,
Yeah,
which doesn't meet the frontage or sideline requirements. But the problem is that that's right there on
Yeah.
Northside Road. So really, it's within the town's boundary.
well, what are we?
It's on the
asking for? We're
towns.
asking to approve the above applications. What's the application for?
For new build.
A new build on that corner. Okay. But it means we're able to.
So there's a house there
Steve.
already, am I right?
Yes, the house is
Yeah,
currently there.
I'll comment, I guess, yeah. It does require a little bit more explanation. It's a unique property, one of the older properties in Holyrood. And, as the Deputy Mayor described, right on that corner, there's an issue with the setback and the current regulations, both in the boundary of Route 60 and Northside Road, sort of a strange shaped lot. And the front of the dwelling actually is on town property. The individual, the application, they would like to build new. It would require demolition,
Okay,
right?
so that's where.
That's where this is going.
Because I was like, there's a house already there.
Yeah,
That's what I was
there would be
thinking.
no way to.
Doing
put a renovation on it.
doing a build on or renovation creates other problems with regards to the setbacks and the regulations required, right? So we want to work with the applicant and the developer to figure out a solution, I guess, that works for everybody. I think that it would actually be beneficial to the town regards to sight lines and things at a busy corner. We would anticipate that Northside Road would get even busier with the traffic going to the Marine Institute, for example, and training, not to mention the school is already there, right? So it could help a already difficult situation. Yeah.
Right. And the plans for the new house hasn't been submitted
No.
at all. So
Has it
it's-
been submitted,
Approval
Krista?
to.
No, just a
Yeah.
concept.
Just a concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a concept.
Yeah.
Concept. Okay, so we're approving that they're able to build, but it'll still be subject to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
what we,
It would have to come back
It would
around
have to-
again here.
that's what I'm
Yes.
thinking,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, sorry, just make sure I get all.
Well, the actual house would have to go back to, no, it wouldn't, it would have,
As long as it meets the regulations
as
for
long as it meets the
size.
regulations, it would not come back to council. That's what we're approving tonight, right? So what the first part of the permit would be for the footing, and then that would go and get inspected, and then the second part of the permit would be issued after that's inspected.
Okay?
Hang on now. I thought that we'd have to get a permit to demolish first. This is approval in principle, right?
It doesn't say that, that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why, that's kind
Okay.
of where I stopped, there's no in principle here. There's nothing to say that what it is or what's
You
happening here.
need to be careful now what we're actually approving.
And I don't know what we're approving exactly.
Yeah, it's not, it doesn't say in principle there. Subject to, no, it just says under regulation 10.
So what was the application, the exact application I wanted to say, because we're voting to approve the above application, but what is the,
For a house. For a house.
to build a house?
Yeah.
Demolish and build a house.
No, just build a house. To demolish can be
Demolition would be a separate permit totally from.
separate
this.
application.
So to build a house, and
That's what I
have
thought.
gone through the approval of the
You
building
would
of
need
the
to
house.
get a demolition permit.
First.
You have to get a permit first, and before they can get a permit, even to phase one, as the deputy mayor mentioned, it has to meet, as much as you're using regulation 10 because it's non-conforming, it still has, the lens has to go on it based on their certified site plan for the home that they're planning to build, to determine if the side boundaries, rear boundaries, and front boundaries haven't changed based on what has come in with the application to date, what planning and development looked at. There is a process. The fact that it's not noted in it in principle, the intent of all approvals for development is, you can use adjectives on it, but we usually use in principle. And then, once all the documentation is in and verified, then the first permit is issued. No part of the permit will be issued until everything is vetted through, which is normally vetted through the planning and development and then through town staff to implement the letter with the conditions in it, which is the normal regulations from the development regulations in the town plan.
Right, so it comes back to committee and staff again, but not
But not
before
here.
the whole
Not before
council.
council.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah,
Just want to make certain that, and that's with every home. And there's still, even following that process, you still got to go out in the field at a point in time to see what you approved when it's being built.
Right.
Correct.
There are some number of steps there that will assist the process.
That's why now we changed it a bit with the regulations whereby once the footings go down, then everything stops until a site visit is done to make sure that the footings
It is where it's supposed to be.
are where they're supposed to be.
yes, and if it would make all council and Councillor Crawley a little more comfortable, we could amend the motion as it is here now with a statement of subject to a particular condition or site assessment or whatever would make
I was
everyone
going
feel
to make
most
that
comfortable.
suggestion, we can make an amendment to that motion if it means moving it forward rather than having the applicant waiting another month.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, I would feel, right
Yeah.
now, I feel like I don't know what I'm approving or not.
So what would you like to add as an amendment?
Well, they have to get a permit to.
Permit for
to
demolition.
Demolition, right? And then they have to come in with all the relevant documentation for the development of new home.
I think this is.
Well, that's already in
If that was
there.
in principle,
That's
we
already-
know they'd have to go through that steps, right?
Well, yes, and even in this, it's still got to go through the steps. I think a suggestion for consideration for people to consider is that where this is a non-conforming use, traditionally when we approve as a house or a lot or a business, then it meets all of the terms and conditions. In a non-conforming, the terms are, because using regulation 10, which gives you the overriding authority as council to approve that, In this, I would suggest to say, before the final approval is given by planning and development, and when all the information is in, and the letter of condition that would normally be written is vetted through planning and development, if there's no issues there, then you can move forward and
Right.
approve it.
Yep.
And if somebody wants to be involved in that process at that time, they can deal with the planning and development committee. That would be a suggestion for consideration.
Okay, all good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please raise your hands. Those against, motion is carried. No, it's good that we flushed this stuff out. If there's any questions there, that's good.
Thank you, CAO, for guiding us through that one. The next is a residential application for 7 Sunset Drive. It's residential medium density. Be it resolved that the town of Holyrood approve the above application in principle, subject to the town's development regulation. So moved.
Okay, moved by the deputy mayor, seconded by Councillor Windsor. Further discussion?
Yeah, I'm gonna continue on. Due to the nature of the various runoffs at the rear of the property, it's recommended that the applicant engage a professional engineer to determine how surface water catchment will be managed, controlled, and mitigated so as to not cause water runoff issues at this property and adjoining land.
Okay.
So that has been
That's a
identified.
good process. Follow. Perfect. Any other questions or comments on that motion? If not, all those in favor, count your mind, that motion is carried.
Next is a residential application for 13 Sol Drive. It's residential medium density. Be it resolved that the town of Holyrood approve the above application in principle, subject to the town's development regulations. So moved.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Woodford, seconded by Councillor Crowley. Further discussion? And that one is pretty straightforward.
It's just a regular
Yeah.
residential building.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, those against, motion is carried.
Next is another residential application for 9 Seabreeze Drive. The zoning is residential medium density. Be it resolved that the town of Holyrood approve the above application in principle, subject to the town's development regulations. So moved.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Sadie King. Further discussion? And again, that one is pretty straightforward. No further comments. All those in favor, those against, motion is carried.
Next is another residential application for 57A Ridge Road. The zoning is residential medium density. Be it resolved that the town of Holyrood approve the above application in principle, subject to the town's development regulations. So moved.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor again, seconded by Councillor Bruce King. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor, those against, motion is carried.
And finally, an application for a home-based business residential renovations at 85 to 93 Country Path. The zoning is residential medium density. Be it resolved that the town of Holyrood approve the above application in principle, subject to the town's development regulation. This application was advertised in accordance with Regulation 10 and 90 of the town's development regulations, and no comments were received from the public by the deadline date. So moved.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Crowley. Further discussion?
I guess just one clarification for all the council is that the type of business, no actual operations or activities happening at the site. The individual's planning to use space for storage and things of that nature. They then takes to is, I guess,
Yeah.
construction sites and so on, right?
Is that the roofing? No. It's not a roofing business, is it?
As it will be.
It was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yep, okay.
Okay, if there's no further questions or comments, all those in favor of the motion, please raise your hands. Those against, motion is carried. So we have,
That's it for me, unless Steve would like to add on.
I think the deputy mayor did an exceptional job. Right?
I had a lot of help this evening. Thank you all.
no, I just want to chime in on that. I mean, this is, we have a dozen or so
That's a lot.
applications here now, which is, clearly a very positive sign that things are starting to turn around, and we're on the other side with all this pandemic and the economy and everything else. And I think, you know, things are starting to improve economically. Happened a bit slowly, but I think it's picking up. And, you know, so, you know, it's quite obvious now that people put a lot of things on hold during this pandemic and with the economy and everything else. But I think now there's a certain level of confidence and optimism, and you know, so now people are moving forward with their dream plans in building new homes, or you know, removing old homes and replacing with a new one. So if that's any indication of what's to come, with the dozen or so applications here tonight, I think we're well positioned to see a lot of residential and, I would say, commercial activity picking up in the very near future. So that's good news for sure. Okay, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. And now we'll move on to recreation and community events. So we have Councillor Buckle and Councillor King.
Councillor King is going to start it out there.
Okay, she's just turning on her mic.
The Recreation Committee held their meeting on April the 12th. In attendance were Councillor Buckle, Steve Martin, Director of Recreation, CAO Gary Corbett, and Major Gubby and myself, Mayor Gubby and myself. A lot of topics again were discussed, and I'm just going to highlight some of them. The Squid Fest will take place from July the 13th to the 17th. The lineup for the beach party is as follows: Shannigan Masterless Men, Janet Call, The Contemporaries, and Cripple Creek. Ticket sales are going extremely well. In fact, early bird tickets sold out within 35 minutes of being put on. Wow. And at the present time, we have over 50% of our tickets gone. Easter Camp turned out a great success this year. Instead of 15 to 25 children like we usually have, we had 50 children in attendance. So a great big thank you goes out to all our counsellors at the camp. They did a great job this year. The community garden has all boxes rented, 26 of them. This year we are adding a gazebo so patrons can go in, have a picnic, sit down, socialize, do whatever. We are also adding a berry bush section this year, so patrons of the garden can go pick their berries when they ripen. We're having another meeting on May the 5th to finalize plans, and after that we will be contacting all our patrons. We have also applied for a grant from Active Transportation Program. This will be dedicated to trails, increased trails at the Samuel Line Recreation Park. We would like to say a big thank you to the Business and Economic Development Committee, Business and Marketing, to Marjorie for her role in filling out this application. It was very long and involved this year. A lot of detail had to go in it, took a lot of time. And on that note, I'll hand it over to Curtis.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Buckle.
Thank you, Councillor King, for doing the first part of the update. Just got a couple more points there. We're looking at this year at having an international rib fest, and the town of Holyrood is partnering with the Children's Wish Foundation. I'm running a rib fest here at their festival grounds in Holyrood on August the 5th to the 7th. The rib fest is very big across the country, and you probably see it, or some people may have seen it before or heard about it. They actually roll in with their big rib trucks and set up and sell ribs for a few days. And like I said, we're doing this in partnership with the Children's Wish, so we're hoping that part of the come home year and outside of Squid Fest in August, we're hoping that we can get as many people out to this event as possible. And there will be some entertainment and stuff on these days besides the rib fest being sold. So this is a great one. We're partnership with Children's Wish, and the Children's Wish, as everyone knows, makes a lot of wishes for a lot of children in and around our province. So we're looking forward to this. I think it's a great partnership, and I think hopefully the weather will cooperate, and I think this will go over really well. And it's something new for Holyrood, and I think it's going to be a great event. Also, the 2-hour Toddy land and sea cleanup. We're looking at doing that this year again. And the dates for that is Friday, June the 10th to Sunday, June the 12th. And we are also, this year, we're going to partnership with the Marine Institute. And the Marine Institute come on side, and they do the portion of the sea cleanup for us, so of our harbour. And it's been done in the past and went over really well. So instead of having it on just one day, it's broke up from Friday to Sunday, so many people can get out and clean up the areas around town. And we're looking forward to this. This event that we had in the past went over really well. And, it's great. Once again, it's another great partnership between the town and the Marine Institute to come to work together to clean up our harbour and our town. Also, the CBC United Soccer Program that was advertised. We have over 150 kids registered for the soccer program, and staff are working to get the program started. We're looking at starting that program on July the 4th. And with that being said, this year is a very important year, a big year for us, because we also have our new soccer facility next to our playground, our recreation center on Kennedy's Lane. So we're looking to utilize the new field. As many people may know, in the past we've had drainage issues with that site for numerous years, and a lot of times if we had a lot of rain, we had to move our soccer program down to the festival ground. But now with the new field, we're looking, with the over 150 kids interested, except in the whole area, in the region, to come out and take part in the soccer program, and to, like I said, use our new soccer field. We're looking, we as council are looking really forward to seeing this new program, and also our recreation director, Steve Martin, has been working on making this program, making some changes to run this program, a little bit bigger in our area, and we're hoping that everything will work out good for the CBC soccer program this year. It's going to be a great year for soccer, hopefully in Holyrood. And also, my final one here is the summer recreation guide that comes out for every year for our summer. It will be going in the mail next week, so people can keep an eye out for that. There's going to be a lot of events and details and information in that guide, so we look forward to getting that out to our residents early next week. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Bucko. And needless to say, recreation and community events is certainly a busy department these days, and all the events that are forthcoming, it takes months and months to bring everything together, organise and lay it all out for everybody to enjoy. So I got to say, Steve Martin, the Recreation Director, is doing a phenomenal job with that. Great committee in place, and there's a lot of really good, exciting things happening now in recreation, and will be happening such to soccer. I mean, those numbers are actually very, very impressive, and I think with this new soccer field, this sport of soccer is really, really going to gain a lot of momentum, and there's going to be a lot of people of all ages who's going to eventually want to form their leagues and go up in the evenings or mornings, whatever. But I think that facility is money well invested, and it gets people out. Gets them up running on the field, and it's great exercise, so it benefits everybody, all people of all ages, and I'm sure it's going to be utilised to the max. So, and of course all the other events coming up with Squid Fest. I mean, 50% of the tickets sold out now. It was only May. Great lineup, and I think we're going to see a record crowd again this year at the Squid Fest. But again, fingers crossed that the weather stays on our side. We've been blessed so far, so let's keep it going. But there's a lot of good things happening and coming up in recreation. And again, thank you to Steve and the committee for a job well done. Good work. Okay, thank you very much, folks. And now we will move on to infrastructure and public works. So we have Councillor Sadie King and Councillor Windsor. Who's taking the lead?
I'll go first, Mayor, and yeah, to echo your statement there on recreation, here, right? Like, I've been cooped up for 2 years. I guess an ambitious summer, and really looking forward to it all, and you know, expecting to come home here too, right? And this Rib Fest, like as a signature event, a new event, you know, in I guess in support of a great cause, and Steve Martin and all staff done an excellent job on that, and I'll say that ribs pair very well with Diet Pepsi, and I look forward to enjoying both of them at the event, right? Infrastructure and public works, so a lot of stuff on the go, right? So, I mean, I'll give an overview of what we discussed at our last committee meeting. My colleague, Councillor King, has a couple of motions, and we're going to do something new as well, which is a new initiative brought forward by Corporate and Administrative Services, is opening a tender, right? It's a sealed document here, and we're going to open that here at Council, right? So that's kind of neat. Hopefully I don't want to shuffle too far through the pages to actually find who it was and how much it was, but yeah. Okay, we met last Thursday, April 28th, right? Myself and Director Stacey, CAO Corbett, Mayor Gooby, and Councillor Sadie King, and Director of Business Marjorie Gibbons joined us at the front end of the meeting to provide some project updates, and her involvement too, of course, is tied to when she seeks out these funding opportunities with the province and the feds, and she stays engaged throughout those projects. So she was in attendance and gave us an overview. I'll try to go rather quickly. Get any questions and let me know. Water and sewers first. We talked about the larger water tank project. So we need to increase the size of the tank. That was talked about at previous council meetings. And current state for reviewing options and quotations. Staff is working with consultants and stakeholders on the options. There's 2 or 3 options there. There's an additional tank, a larger tank, and that sort of thing, right? We do need to improve the capacity of the water supply, right? Well testing, and it's a reminder to everybody, sometimes we forget, right? We're all on wells, right? One way or the other, we are all on wells until we tie into North Arm River. So there is well testing scheduled to be conducted. There were some sensor issues, which Director Stacey and Public Works are running down. It's an item that should be under warranty. We're going to pursue that. Once we get that dealt with, we'll do some testing on the well system. The pressure relief valve project, which you all see on Route 60. So civil work is done for chamber now, but the problem is we're waiting on material to complete the mechanical and electrical outfitting, right? I mean, everyone knows supply chain now is terrible for getting this stuff, but they're working on it, and expect the project to be fully completed in 6 to 8 weeks time frame. And then it'd be the asphalt, to close it in and beautify. We did agree to plant some shrubs around that area, so that'll be done then. I'd say 2 months. Is the reality. Say 6 to 8 weeks, it's probably 2 months or longer, right? Some of the stuff I'm seeing in my work, the delivery times keep pushing out farther and farther to the right. But we'll stay on it. That's the water. On the sewer side, sewer study, you remember I was talking about that earlier the winter when we installed flow meters throughout the system so the consultant can gather data to conduct their work, right? So the flow meters, they've done their job now and they're scheduled to be removed this week. So that's the larger water and sewer project stuff. Other general updates, we talked about the roundabout, right? And staff's working really hard on completing that. Something that's been a great annoyance to me personally and a lot of people in the town I know over the years, and it's been a struggle for everybody involved, including the staff, right? So the original lighting plan was extremely expensive. Right, we know that. We're trying to find a fit-for-purpose solution that is aesthetically pleasing and functional and provides the adequate lighting for safety, right? It's all about safety is number one. And the crosswalks, are to be painted. So technically, they're under the jurisdiction of the province, but we need to get them painted, and town staff are going to take care of it, okay? And the last thing is the street sweeping, where you probably notice a ton of debris there, right? Dust and sand. And then the asphalt that's coming from Mars Bridge is in the roundabout, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and it's not just unsightly, right? It's unsafe for bicyclists, motorcyclists, like I've been out now, and a lot of people are getting out. And that's very dangerous, right? So, Director Stacey, he's actually gone out for prices now, and work orders in the system, and we're going to get that done too. Just the other day on the radio, other municipalities are addressing this, right? So it's time. Spring's in the air, right? So that's a good thing, but we need to make sure everyone's having fun in a safe way. The industrial park ditching, we talked about that at our last meeting, right? And there was a stop work order issued, and there was problems for a resident downstream. So we released the stop work order and agreed to certain mitigating measures to be put in place. So staff are conducting at least weekly site inspections to monitor and report for compliance to make sure those measures stay in place. It's a silt runoff in the rainfall, that's the problem, right? And we need to prevent that. Also, a couple more. We received an application to construct and install a permanent wharf on Hocknell's Pond, and the applicant is to be advised, and maybe has already been advised, that town plan states provincial approval is required from the Department of Environment and Conservation for permanent structure to be installed within 15 meters, 50 feet of a waterway. So that's that.
Yep.
Right. And last but not least, Fury's Woodpath. So we talked about in a broader sense, I guess, the certain areas in the town have been developed and creating some problems for runoff and blight on the landscape and that sort of thing. So this did come up at our meeting again because there have been reports now, complaints and site visits to verify that there is a drainage issue as affecting another property owner downstream and adjacent to in the area. So we'll be advising the owner that ditching and other aspects, indeed, of the 12-year-long project are incomplete and requires additional work to be completed by the developer at the cost of the developer. So a letter will be sent by staff to the owner. And that is it for the general updates. What do we do first? We do the tender or we do the motion? This looks exciting. It's like opening a
Drum roll,
present.
please.
So what this is for? This is for a new sand truck and blade. Okay. The tender was sent out to 3 vendors, right? And this was received by the deadline, which was May 2nd, yesterday. Okay. It's like maybe ribbon or something on it. Confetti gonna come out of the ceiling here, Steve?
As soon as you open it.
All right. Or Jack in the Box.
For a blade.
I don't know, right? Looks like it's a paper cut now. That'd be a reportable incident, I suppose, for our work. Let's see now.
Not as bad as those paper cups.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. Price now. It's the specifications and so on. So just an item of note here now. What will happen is this will return to staff, and staff will have to complete the complete evaluation to make sure that the tender is in compliance with specification. And as you can see, there's a number of requirements that are laid out. Oh, there it is there. Okay. So this is from Harvey and Company. The supply, the bid, one new 2022 or newer sand truck with blade, total including taxes $29,333. I'm sorry, I got really excited there for a second. It's handwriting and the yeah,
That's not right.
it's a little difficult to read the handwriting.
Watch your commas.
$293,330.50. Very excited there for a second, didn't you?
Well, I was thinking that's
Thought there
awfully
was a
cheap.
discount.
Where did you get that?
I was going to get one at the
I was
first
gonna get
price,
one
but not
too.
the second one.
Now, so we're supposed to sign and date this here. Where to? Now, it doesn't.
You
That's
can
not
just do
obvious.
it on the front page, Councillor Lindsay.
So today's the 3rd
Third.
3rd of May.
So once that's reviewed by
2022.
staff, it'll go back to the committee, Public Works Committee, and they will then in turn, make a recommendation to council as to who will be awarded the tender.
Yeah.
So that's as open and transparent as we can get, so.
Okay, so I just noted, date, my name, and open at public council meeting, 293 Harvey and Company.
Someone at Harvey Company had a stroke there for a second too.
Oh, yeah. All right, well, they should write more clearly. I got no problem blaming someone else. All right, so that's their general update. That's our tender. Councillor King, was there anything I missed that you wanted to add before reading some motions?
No,
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Windsor. Councillor King.
Well, I'm going to try to bring in a bit of money, but I don't leave and buy one of the nuts and the tires.
For
Well,
life.
when it says as is, wear it.
So, our first motion, be it resolved that the town of Holyrood sell 2 vehicles, a 2009 Chevy Silverado for an amount of $1,575 and a 2011 GMC Sierra for an amount of $1,675. This sale is based on the results of a tender identifying the vehicles for potential sale. There were 3 responses to the tender, and this motion identifies the highest bid for each vehicle being sold. To ensure transparency and to ensure the appropriate procurement procedures were followed, the tender was advertised, accepted, and evaluated. The evaluation and bid opening were witnessed by 3 members of management staff. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Sadie King.
I'll
Have a
second.
seconder, please. Seconded by Councillor Windsor. Further discussion?
And are we supposed to know, or it's transparency, are we supposed to know who's buying, who placed the bids? No.
Microphone.
Sorry, Councillor Crowley. Just wondering, in transparency, is this part of our open bid? Are we supposed to know who, or is that not public knowledge?
It might not be public knowledge.
Not public knowledge.
No, because when there's privacy concerns and that's say an organisation or a business purchasing Councillor Crowley, like a private individual, so this get private, right? In terms of price, I guess a quick comment, right? We talked about it. Can you get more, right? Reality is probably not. They're terrible condition, right? Absolutely terrible condition. Probably not safe. Estimates thousands of dollars to get put back on the road. So, I mean, I'd say we take what we can get and move on.
Well, the thing is, I mean, if this vehicle is just going to be parked, it's only going to rust and deteriorate, have no value to anybody at this point. So it's just as well to let it go for that price rather than keeping it in the yard for the sake of saying we're not going to sell it, but then eventually you're not going to get anything for it. So at least somebody now will do a bit of work on it and put it
Or use it
put it
Some
to
for
use.
parts.
Or for parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if we put it over in the yard, it'll be a few years' time, we'll be looking for someone to take it out of it.
Yeah, have to pay someone to take
Yeah,
it.
and as Councillor Windsor just said, safety is paramount. And when our staff and our mechanics comes to us and says that, one of the vehicles now is at the end of its lifespan, it's no longer deemed safe, well, to me, it's not to be questioned. And what we are trying to do through our budgetary process on a forward-going basis is to replenish our fleet and get the most latest models that we can possibly get. Because again, safety of our staff behind the wheel is it's paramount. Okay, so any other questions on that? The motion has been moved and seconded. All those in favour? Those against? Motion is carried.
And the other is the culvert policy, revision 1. Be it resolved that the town of Holyrood approve culvert installation policy HP-001, revision 1. This policy will ensure culvert installation and replacements have governance and regulations that are followed in the long-term planning for the town. The Infrastructure and Public Works Committee have been discussing climate change and the adverse effects that it can have on town infrastructure. The Hazeldale washout in the spring of 2022 being a prime example. The committee has been taking a proactive approach to the effects of climate change on the municipality, especially in terms of infrastructure stability and longevity. The Infrastructure Committee have reviewed the town's current culvert policy adopted by Council March 19, 2021, and have made a revision regarding minimum culvert size due to the effects of climate change. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Bruce King. Further discussion. Councillor Windsor.
Yeah, I just want to back up my colleague there a little bit and provide some insights to the group, the residents. Yeah, I think the minimum before, if we even had a minimum requirement, would be smallest would be 18. There was no, right? So we're going to 21, and simply put, more water, larger pipe, right?
Yeah.
And that's really what it boils down to, right? And enforcing compliance is another matter, right? But new development is an opportunity to catch it, and when people are replacing old ones, we'll make sure that new ones go back that are upsized, right? And ideally save us money and save the nuisance for the residents when we experience these extreme events. So, hopefully we won't have to further increase the minimum size, but we start somewhere, and there's other things that we need to do relates to water management and stormwater runoff and drainage in the town. But this is starting somewhere, right? You got to start somewhere. Yeah.
Well, I mean, in taking a proactive approach to adapting to climate change, and we're all aware that the weather events that we're experiencing are more frequent and they're more severe. And you take January, this month, January, February, I mean, the rain that we had and the storms, which we've never seen years ago. So I think it's a reality that we can expect to see this now into the future. And when we find areas that become problematic, like Councillor Windsor said, you upgrade the size of that culvert, because the next heavy rainfall, you're going to have as much water flowing through that culvert as well. And we've all learned in past situations that if a culvert is smaller and it becomes blocked with debris and you get a massive amount of rain, when the water is diverted, because the culvert can't hold all the water and goes in its own direction, it can create a lot of destruction. And one example is what we saw up on Vitch's Hill a few years ago, which wiped out Vitch's Hill and Vitch's Crescent. And thankfully, we secured funding from the province, but that was a massive project and a tremendous amount of damage done, because one culvert was blocked and the water took another path, and that's the damage that it caused. So, Public Works are certainly cognizant of all of this, and there's going to be more discussions in the future as to how we can be more proactive in addressing other things in town, like you said, ditching, culverts as we're doing now, and other things as well to adapt to climate change, to ensure that our infrastructure is not compromised during these heavy storms. So, okay, any other questions or comments on that? So again, the minimum size will be 21 inch.
21,
okay?
correct.
And where the town deems that there's massive amounts of water now building up on a frequent basis, they may have to be upgraded again, probably with 24 or 28, whatever it takes to ensure that the water flows through and not holds up. Okay, with that said, all those in favor of the motion, please raise your hands. Those against, motion is carried. And that's it for Public Works?
Yes, sir.
And again, Public Works is another extremely busy department this time of the year, because there's a lot of things on the list that needs to be tended to. Okay, next we'll move on to business development and marketing. I'm handing it over to my colleague, Deputy Mayor Woodford.
So business development and marketing, our committee met on April the 18th. We met virtually, all hands on deck. There are a few items that we just wanted to provide an update to other councillors and the public tonight. First, our business brochure. That went out in the mail late last week, so I want everyone to have a look for it. This initiative hopes to build communication between the town and existing businesses and new ventures, and provide information and opportunity for business growth and development in Holyrood. We just want everyone to know that the town is here to help. So if you have an idea, if you need guidance, if you need information, to please reach out. The town can help you with that. We will also want to thank our residents for their patience and understanding as we finalize the completion of our boardwalk. Because of the pandemic, materials that we needed last fall were delayed, and then winter set in, so we couldn't get the work done as planned. The contractor has provided us with a list of work to be completed, and has also given us a time frame for each piece of that work. And so we're happy to say that we do have a project completion target date for June the 20th, just in time for our residents and visitors to enjoy a nice walk along our beach. We also want to announce that we did receive funding for the following programs. So for Squid Fest, $15,600 was received. $29,439 for recreation. So that provided funding for 5 camp counselors and 2 heritage ambassadors. $12,936 was approved for 7 park staff, and $4,204 was approved to hire a student for the marina. And I believe they're all 8 weeks and 35 hours a week. Lastly, OHI will be participating in the Energy NL Conference, which is going on at the St. John's Convention Centre from May the 30th to June the 2nd. As lead of OHI, our CAO, Gary Corbett, is registered for the entire conference, and our mayor is registered for a day pass. Because we have membership, as Energy NL used to be NOIA, so we have membership with them. We are guaranteed, I guess our membership pays for that booth.
And no cost.
At no cost, and participation as well. And we just like to invite our councillors and staff to visit the booth anytime from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. during May 30th to June the 2nd. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, if not,
Oh, hold on.
I got
Hold
one
on.
question. That was an excellent update.
once around.
It was quick.
Yeah, no, it just piqued my interest in if this has come up in other committee meetings I missed it, I apologise. But I'm curious, does anyone know, have we talked about phase 2 of the boardwalk? I mean, it's awesome to get that phase 1 done by June 20th, but what are we doing for the next piece, right?
Yes,
Yep.
yes. Well, that's what we have to determine at the committee level, and then we kind of bring it back. But right now, it's either, there's 3 phases. We're in phase 1. So then we have to determine what phase are we going to phase 2, which is towards the Marine Institute, or are we doing the other side, which is towards the marina?
And
there's
conceptually,
certainly-
would that be like next year's project, like 23?
Yes.
Not in
Depends
the
on the
end
funding.
of 22?
No, it wouldn't be, because the funding wouldn't be there for the end of 22. It would have to be in
And we have-
2023.
Yeah, and we have to factor in, what may happen in one area, say going towards the Marine Institute, what's required on that side. There may be other things required on the other side. So all of this, we've got to flush out, cost it out, and all of that, right? So, but
Depending on the
discussions,
funding.
Yeah.
discussions have started, and there will be many to come. to
Perfect,
Make that
okay.
decision.
Thank you.
And we
Yeah.
will keep council apprised
Once
of
we know,
things.
yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Deputy Mayor. And now we'll move on to public safety. So we have Councillor Buckle, who is joining us via phone tonight. He's unable to be here at the meeting. And Councillor Bruce King. So who's going to
I
lead
can
that?
start her off and Bruce can fill in the blanks.
Anyway, good evening, Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors, staff, the hundreds of people listening at home, and I was almost be able to say the balcony tonight was full. Just before the meeting started, they all left. But anyway, she was full. So take my word
Good
for
to
it.
see.
It was great to see. It was a start. It's a start. Anyway, we had our public safety meeting on the 8th of April, And those in attendance was Councillor Buckle, Mayor Gooby, the Fire Chief, Evan Woodford, our Public Works Director, Mr. Stacy, and our CAO, Mr. Corbett. So we talked about a few issues. One of the first one was there was a request for a light to go on a pole down at the bottom of O'Rourke's Road. But when Public Works went down and had a look at it, the pole is not on town land. It's basically at the end of a driveway. So we just informed the residents there that, you know, if they wanted to go and get a light put on the pole, they're more than welcome, but they would have to cover the cost. I'll leave the next one, the fire positions for last. We also discussed the boardwalk and the festival grounds, and I know it came up tonight, and we're talking about Rib Fest, we're talking about Squid Fest, and I don't know how many other fests are out there that are going to come up this year. But one of the things we talked about was the parking area over around HMPC, where the boats are. And what we're going to do is our representatives on HMPC, we're going to get them to organize a meeting with council so we can discuss how to best approach. Once the boats go in, most of the boats are not a problem because most of the boats, once they go in the water, they're out of the parking lot. There are boats there that when they go in the water, all of a sudden they stop being boats and become submarines. So they're not going in the water. So we got to figure out where those boats are going to be parked, right? So we're going to talk to them about that, and some of them have probably been there for a while. So we're going to discuss that, and we're going to make sure that area is cleared because it is a major parking area for different events here in the town. So we'll talk to them about that, and hopefully we'll be able to get all that sorted out. We discussed this, the caboose. I know the mayor has read a letter from the mayor of Avondale, but I think we've come to the conclusion that selling the caboose would be or donating it, preferably selling it, would be their last option of getting rid of it, because like Avondale, Holyrood has a history with the railroad as well. So it doesn't really make no sense to give our history of the railroad to another community, and we go up and look at a caboose in Avondale donated by the town of Holyrood. Really doesn't make a lot of sense. And there is some ideas out there with regards to what to do with the caboose. It does need a bit of work, absolutely. But one of the ideas that came forward was to move it, less the wheels, down and attach it to the museum on the right-hand side. That's going to be investigated where we can use it. The museum has some great ideas of putting pictures in that particular portion that's related to the railroad. And, you know, it'll be a great little tourist attraction. And it could be a little information chalet for tourist events coming up in the town as well. So anyway, getting rid of right now I think there's a consensus here that getting rid of the caboose is probably going to be the last option once we've exhausted pretty well everything else. Okay. We discussed marina fire safety, and again with the boats being so close together, and some of the older boats, if there was a fire, if there was vandalism down there with regards to catching something on fire, when you look at how much oil, how much gasoline, the different types of chemicals that are in these boats, okay, you know, it could lead to a bit of a disaster here in the town. So once some of the boats get in the water, the fire chief is going to go down and do an inspection like he did in the past, and then make sure then that everything is down there meets the required regulations when it comes to fire safety. And I know we discussed the roundabout tonight as well. And the roundabout is a concern because over the past little while there have been a lot of accidents at the roundabout. And I was almost one of them on Saturday. And the problem is some people do not know what yield signs mean. Because I was coming through, heading towards the orange store, and somebody was coming from the right-hand side, where the yield sign is. Anyway, they forgot that part about yielding. I hit the brakes. Of course, they hit the brakes as well. I pointed at the yield sign to give them a little bit of public safety and driver awareness. And for my driver awareness and safety, I was given the universal one-finger sign of appreciation. So I thanked the person, and we both went on our merry way. So, anyway. The other part, the last part, is with regards to the fire department and fire safety. And I just wanted a few comments there with regards to what the fire chief has passed on to me. Over the past few days, the fire department here in Holyrood has been extremely busy. Okay, very busy with different events and accidents. They had 9 incident calls in 5 days, and some days they had multiple calls as well. And yesterday they had 4 calls in 1 day. Okay, so they are very active when it comes to moving, and addressing issues within the town and within the area that we are responsible for. So anyway, the training that's being conducted. They're getting an excellent turnout when it comes when the alarm goes off. They have enough people there, plus the full-time firefighters, plus the volunteers, to make sure that everything is being looked after. They're doing an outstanding job, and they're looking forward to their firefighter school, I guess, which is coming up now later on in the summer. And I know we have a resolution going forward tonight with regards to the fire positions, but I didn't know Chief Bauer, and other than seeing him when I walked by his house walking the dogs. But I have gotten to know very well Acting Chief Woodford, and I found him so far to be an excellent person to work with. He's absolutely very professional on the way he approaches things. He's very knowledgeable of basically anything to do with the fire department. And the same way with the other firefighter that we're going to be discussing tonight, Mr. Mahoney. So both of them are top notch. I think the town is going to be 2 very important assets when they become full time. And I just looked up some of the traits of a good fire chief and a good firefighter. And I know the mayor is probably going to agree with all of these because he has spent all of his life as a firefighter. And one of the first ones is excellent communication skills. And I think the fire chief brings that to the table. He's able to communicate very well with his staff. He's able to communicate very well with council. He's able to communicate very well with the full-time staff here. So he's able to do all these things. He's able to communicate, and he needs the ability to communicate not only with the staff, but he needs the ability to communicate with other first responders when they get to the scene. He needs to be able to talk to the fire department. He needs to be able to communicate with the first responders. And also he needs to be able to get out there and speak to the public. Compassion. I mean, nobody probably else other than a police officer more compassion than a firefighter, because when they're called out, they're not called out to a party, they're not called out to a barbecue, they're called out to traffic accidents that may involve people being seriously hurt or killed. They're to fires where people could be in very serious condition and critical condition. So you've got to have the compassion for people and to be able to communicate that not only to the victims but their family, because I'm sure a family, if they're on the scene, they're pretty irate as well. Right? It makes fast and sound decisions. Okay, I was never a firefighter, but I'm sure you have to make life and death decisions, especially to go into a burning building. It's not a natural act for all of us to come scurrying out of the building because the building is on fire, and have other people scurry back into the building to save anybody that's left in there or to save the building. So it goes without saying. The people, they have to be calm, they have to be collective, and they have to be able to know what they're doing. Courage, like I said, it takes a lot of courage for somebody to run into a burning building. It takes a lot of courage to go to somewhere where there's a vehicle on fire that you don't know any second it's going to blow up. And the last one, physical fitness, right? I mean, they say that they carry probably about 70 some odd pounds plus all their gear. But imagine trying to get me, for example, that's 220 some odd pounds off the second floor and try to haul me down over a ladder. It was me, I'd probably chuck me out the window and then get me on the way down. But so all of these prerequisites, these 2 gentlemen meet them and then some. Okay, so unless anybody has further ado, I will move forward with the motion and then people can discuss it at the end.
I would just like to add to that briefly. to put things really into perspective, I was driving down the south side yesterday afternoon, and I saw the pumper, and then I saw the chief's rig behind. And the first thing, well, I saw them running into the building with their trauma bags, their first aid, their oxygen, all the gear they need, so I knew it was a medical call. That could have been a life and death situation, I don't know. But I do know that by the time that call came in, and by the time they got on the scene, the response time or the travel time was no more than 4 minutes. 4 minutes. And you know something? I felt proud. I felt proud to see them going into that building so fast with their gear, knowing they got there so fast. And I said, you know something? Council made the right decision. So, anyway.
Before I move forward to motion, I would ask Councillor Buckle if he has anything he would like to add as well.
No, Bruce, you summed up all of our topics here in our meeting, our Public Safety Committee meeting. But, you know, I mean, I'd just like to weigh in there and say a few words before we move on to the motion. As the Mayor said, you know what I mean, residents, we can understand, you know what I mean, that our fire department, you know what I mean, have 4 paid positions there in the day, and I mean, and also they're available on the weekends along with our volunteers. And, you know, some people think, you know, I mean, the fire department, you know, I mean, respond to fire, but what we need to get out to our residents also, you know what I mean. In a lot of cases, you know, what I mean, in the area, Conception Bay Centre from Holyrood to Colliers, and then down to San Merlon, you know, what I mean, a lot of times, as we've dealt with in the past from previous council, I mean, response times from the ambulance, you know, what I mean, and there's only so much resources given to the Conception Bay Centre area from Eastern Health, and you know, I mean, there's 1 ambulance in the area, and you know, I mean, the area has grown, and seniors have got older in the area, and new homes built, and people move in. You know, I mean, it's busier. There's more traffic on the go now today than it was back, say, even 15 years ago. You know, I mean, everybody got a vehicle now, and but you know, I mean, residents got to understand also. You know, I mean, our fire department there, as the Mayor said, you know, for medical calls. You know, what I mean. So, you know what I mean, if there's a situation and you're waiting for an ambulance, you know what I mean, I think they piggyback and call each other anyway, but, you know what I mean, just to get it out there to our residents, you know what I mean, our fire department also does medical calls, and by getting our fire department there in a quick response time can save someone's life, and it could be one of our own loved ones. So I think, you know what I mean, this is a great opportunity for Holyrood to have these 4 firefighters there, and what we can provide to our residents is, you know what I mean, it's utmost respect, and I think we got a great fire department. And you know what I mean, Councillor King will read a motion there now for the department. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Buckle.
Be it resolved that the town of Holyrood approve the following staffing changes of the Holyrood Fire Department. The changes include reassigning of acting Fire Chief Evan Woodford to the position of Fire Chief in a full-time permanent position. Acting firefighter Mark Maloney will now assume the position of firefighter, full-time permanent career firefighter with the town of Holyrood Fire Department. Both staff members have been acting in the acting role for their positions in 2021 and 2022, due to the absence of now the late Fire Chief Bob Bauer, who had been off work due to illness. Evan and Mark demonstrated their effectiveness in the respective roles during that 1-year replacement period, and we are confident in their abilities to continue to contribute their talents and skills to the department. Both individuals have the appropriate training and required qualifications expected of their positions. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Bruce King, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Further discussion? And I think that, Councillor King, you pretty well communicated everything that I would have liked to add, so I won't, I don't think there's a need to repeat it, but 2 top-notch guys, along with the, our female, we have a female firefighter on staff, and another individual, along with the volunteer aspect, and the department, I tell you, they're doing a fantastic job. The level of calls are really, really on the increase, and we know that's the reason why we hired them, because we anticipated with the growth in the town and all the calls at the Transcannon and the traffic, we anticipated the call volume will rise, so we were keeping ahead of it. And as you said tonight, you know, just yesterday, 4 calls alone in one day, it's not calls. And those calls are going to continue to come in as time goes on, the town grows, and people are traveling more and everything else. So we have a top-notch department led by our fire chief, and they're doing a great job. So we certainly support them 100%. Okay, any other questions or comments? Councillor Windsor.
Just a question for learning opportunity. It was excellent, Councillor King, and support everything you said. But those calls, I was unaware of the volume of calls, and I was just curious, like, as to were there any trends. Like, was it a mixed bag of medical emergencies, motor vehicle accidents, fires? But if you were to say to me, which is 80% of them were outdoor fires that got out of control, then there's an opportunity for a public safety message for people to be more mindful of what they're doing in their gardens or whatever the case may be. I don't know, I was just curious if the chief had provided any feedback to you on trends.
No, he didn't, but I will ask the chief the breakdown, and whatever he sends me, I will forward it to the rest of council.
But I do know that they do put out certain messages, like this time of year, springtime, when people are out, cleaning up their yards and everything, they do just some free burning. Like, they provide safety messages all throughout the year, which are really, really beneficial.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah, we're really on top of that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, the motion has been moved and seconded. If there's no further discussion, could I have all those in favour, please?
Aye.
Long meeting. Those against? Motion is carried, unanimous. Okay, if that's it, is that it for public safety?
It is for me, unless Chris.
Councillor Buckle, do you have anything to add before we move on?
No, that's good for me.
Okay, thank you very much, folks, and now we'll move on to the Communications Committee, and I will call upon Councillor Crowley.
Good evening, everyone, mayor, councillors, staff, public. My update is gonna be relatively boring compared to all those updates, which isn't a bad thing. We met communications on April 25th at 4:30. It was Director Steve Martin, Councillor Sadie King, Deputy Mayor Michelle Woodford, Director Marjorie Gibbons, I'm like looking for the word director, that's on, and myself. So we got an update on the website where we thought we were going to be moved along a little bit further, but in terms of the e-services programming, where people will be able to pay online their accounts and update their balances and things like that, is actually gone off to the Town Suite accounting software now. So it's kind of out of our hands at this point. We're waiting for them to link in to our website, so they need to have the back end being prepared. There were some questions arose as to the security and safety, which we'll refer back at our next meeting in terms of who would be responsible for the safety and security of transactions that are provided on our website. So we'll have those updates next meeting. We were still working on our policy updates. We decided that we're going to try to do the last little chunk on our communication of council to staff, staff to council, council to council, committee to council, all those pieces. We were working through them piece by piece, but we're going to try to have it all completed for June, July, and into policy. So we can pass that forward and get moving on other pieces and looking at stakeholders and different terms afterwards. We talked about a mail out. Councillor Sadie King brought it to our attention that it'd be convenient for the town to have a quarterly or a page update on basic amenities and current information that the town should be providing, to be transparent again and to make sure that we're getting out information in a timely manner. So unfortunately, it wasn't in this budget to have those mail outs. So we hadn't budgeted for that in the 2022 budget. We tried working if we could piggyback off some of the other ones, but the space just isn't there for recreation already puts it out. Some information will already be out there. But going forward, we said in budget 2023, we would look at budgeting a communications media line item, so that we could actually put out that information to the public on a regular basis, and it would include information from all committees. So there would be a template put in place where all committees would provide a few relevant details for their committee for that time period, and we would put it out to the public. So that would be in a 2023 budget. As for right now, we'll just get basic information out as best possible. We still have social media updates and information going out like that, like the boardwalk updates will be going out. So unfortunately, a regular update won't be in this year, but we'll get information as much as we can. So that's it for our communication. Information is going out on both garbage and property cleanup and stuff like that with recreation anyway. So relevant information will go out for composting, the update on the composting, or lack thereof right now, just because of the funding didn't come through. And community garden, things like that will be in recreation. So I don't know if fellow councillors had anything else to add for our committee, or if anyone has any questions about our communications.
No, things seems to be going along pretty good.
Rolling along. Yep.
Rolling along.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Crowley. And now we'll move on to the Operational Review Committee, and I will turn that over to Councillor Windsor.
I almost forgot that we had to provide an update on that one. Yeah, shout out to the Communication Committee though. The biggest problem with communication is the illusion it occurred. Do you hear that quote?
I love that.
You guys are doing a
Yeah.
phenomenal job, and I think there's a huge improvement to everything that we're doing. Yeah, Operational Review update. Okay, so myself, Councillor Bruce King, Councillor Curtis Buckle, and Mayor Gooby met yesterday for just over an hour. No staff were present. It was an excellent meeting. I really enjoyed the discussions. As I said to my colleagues there, I don't get a chance to work with Councillor Bruce King or Councillor Curtis Buckle on my other committees. So it was the first time like really kind of working together, and enjoyed the discussion. We discussed the terms of reference, that you can call it, but essentially a draft RFP that we have tailored for the town of Holyrood, which is very similar to what other jurisdictions, other municipalities have done. We would like to meet again at least one more time before coming back to the full council. We would anticipate before our next public council meeting doing that, and the next steps following that, I think, we talked about protocols and communication again, right? And be appropriate for Mayor Gooby and CAO Corbett to have a discussion about the next steps, and then Mayor CAO Corbett explain to the staff our intent, right? And I'll say it again now too, right? And we've said it before, like this is a very healthy exercise. There's no hidden agendas or anything like that. It's in many ways, I think, going to open our eyes and opportunities for learning for all of us, old councillors and new councillors, right? And maybe there's some opportunities for efficiency, people who are maybe too busy and people who are not busy enough, and the sharing of responsibilities and workloads, validation of the good work being done, and maybe there's an opportunity just for everyone to work smarter and not harder, right? So it was some very thoughtful discussions that we all had, and that's just sort of the highlight. But listen, happy to turn it over to Councillor King, Councillor Buckle. If there's anything I missed, I just wanted to give all the council an update that we met, and we had some very thoughtful discussions, and we're going to meet again very soon for next steps. And I know it's a commitment that the mayor made during the election. I think it was important. I think it was well received.
Very much.
By the residents, and again, I think it's a healthy thing to do for municipality periodically, right? And we'll go through this, and after we're gone, another council's term or two council's terms, someone else will do it again, right? That's part of it, right? Continually improving, right? So that's the update. I don't know, Bruce, you had anything or?
No, I think once it's completed, it's going to be a very detailed document, and I think it'll map out the way ahead, probably like Councillor Windsor was saying, for the years to come. Right. So I think I think everything else was good.
Okay, No, well said, well explained. So
I guess-
I don't think I need to add anything.
Probably one thing I probably should have mentioned, and I failed to do so, was part of doing the work, all councillors would be interviewed by the successful consultant, right? We would all be interviewed, and all staff would be interviewed, allowing them to conduct their work in a confidential and open manner. So everyone should feel comfortable in speaking to the individual, right? And then the terms of reference or RFP would require the methodology that the consultant would come back and present to us preliminary findings, right? It just doesn't issue a final report. We'd come back, present, discuss, we would accept or reject recommendations prior to completion of the final report. So that's sort of the detailed piece that we're talking about, and what we would expect a person or persons to do as a successful consultant, right? Yeah, so everyone will have the full opportunity to get more engaged as we move along. Yeah, just wanted to add that.
Yeah, no, the RFP clearly indicates that there will be 30 to 50 interviews, and of course there will be a format which will be decided for public consultation as well. So everybody, council, staff, and the whole community will have an opportunity to have a say into this whole review. So, as you said, I think it's a very healthy process at this stage in the town's history. It was never done before, and it gives us as a council that assurance, through an outside independent party, through a very comprehensive process, in determining, are we heading in the right direction? Which, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of positives, but, also there will be some recommendations there as well. Like you say, you don't have to work harder but smarter, and there's a lot of things which is for everybody's benefit, both council, staff, and the community. And so I'm pleased that this process is moving forward. Yes, no doubt, when I spoke to residents during the campaign, there were hundreds who really said, certainly, this is a good process, we fully support it, and we want to see this move forward. So glad that this council fully supported it, and we're moving forward, and the wheels are turning.
Yeah. Mayor, we should check to see, Curtis, if you're on the line,
Yeah, I was
did
going to
you
ask
want
now if
any
Curtis
additional
wants to
comment?
add.
Yeah, I'll just weigh in. The meeting was we had was it was a good meeting, and as I indicated in our meeting, we as council, come in, but the operations review, we don't see, we don't know the day-to-day operations, between staff, we don't see that part as much, We're on the outside, we show up to committee meetings or meetings, but our CAO is the one that deals with staff and stuff, so we don't see it all. It'd be nice to get a feedback from it all, even the CAO, through the whole process, and have things run on the day-to-day operations also.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. All right, any questions or comments on that? Okay, if not, we will move on to corporate service and administration, and Councillor Crowley's going to pay some bills.
Let's hope. We'll do a little update first, and then we'll pay the bills.
There we go.
So on April 21st, Corporate Services Administration met via Zoom. Gary Corbett, CEO, Gary Goodby, Mayor, myself, Councillor Bruce King, and Director of Finance, Marie Searle was there. We are working through again the policy and procedure operating document, so the council operating policy and procedure. We discussed in length the conflict of interest section of this policy and what it should entail and what it does entail. Ultimately, we are confined by what the Municipalities Act has, so no matter what we put in our policy, Municipality Act overrides it anyway. So we said we'd go back and make sure, but municipalities is actually working on that section as well. So they're actually kind of looking at it with a fine-tooth comb and figuring out what should and should not be in there. Because one of the things that I noted was that it was a lot of relative things, like mother, sister, father, brother, that kind of thing, listing of, but not necessarily looking at businesses versus businesses, connections, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I think apparently they're gonna try to get tighter control over that, municipal affairs, but we're still at the mercy kind of municipal affairs. Another section we discussed was the communications committee being added into the policy and operations, which is not there right currently. And trying to get the agendas out. We discussed at length as well when the agendas for public meetings should be released. And, you know, trying to make it as efficient as possible for the public while still allowing staff and counselors to realize that we're trying to get stuff done at the last minute as well. So we looked at maybe there could be a cutoff of the Monday before the meeting or the Friday before the meeting, whichever works, so we're still kind of in that process. The draft policy for municipal donations is vetted through our committee now, so it's going through all council, or will be going out to all council, and should be ready to be passed at the next public meeting if there's no errors or omissions. Procurement policy draft has been given to the hands of the committee now, so we're going to look at it first and dive into it. It was a lengthy policy, which makes sense because procurement, tenders, RFPs there's a lot of detail to that, a lot of different pieces and a lot of moving pieces. So we're gonna look at that and we'll come back our next CSA meeting. We will give recommendations or take a look at the procurement policy. Appointment of fire chief was discussed, that's been taken care of. We discussed again our interactions with HMPC, and we will, myself, I have been assigned on the HMPC committee as well now, so we're going to act as a liaison going back and forth between this to kind of solve all our financial burdens and acceptances between HMPC. So we will be meeting, myself and Councillor Windsor, the next meeting. We'll bring up some issues, and then we said, like Councillor King said about meeting with council and Board of HMPC. For my own financial questions and the rest of the committee, Director Marjorie Gibbons came online in our CSA meeting and gave us an overview of OHI financials and where the money comes from, where the money goes, who's accountable, how it's accountable, and it was a really great learning experience because I know other committees are getting it and that kind of thing. So there is an update in our minutes, but if any councillor wants to come discuss it, free to do that now, because I'm glad now I got my head wrapped around it too. I understand it now, where it's coming from, and the pieces that are involved in that as well, which is really important, coming from the financial committee side of it, but also coming as a resident and not understanding it before. So I could see what OH&I was doing, but I didn't know where the money was coming and going. Finally, the only thing else I wanted to bring up was that the donation, and there will be a motion now, and we'll speak to that now in a minute, for the Ganny family. So that was the update, and unless Councillor King had anything else, or Mayor Gooby had anything else to add, we'll move into our motions.
Covered it all very well.
Okay. So we have our accounts, and this is just general paying of the bills again. Be it resolved that accounts tabled in the amounts of $248,451.50. That would be check numbers D2446 to D2471 and 043177 to -043225 be approved for payment. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Crawley, seconded by Councillor Bruce King. Further discussion?
And this is probably the least amount of questions I had with the accounts. I picked through line by line by line. This is the first time I'm like, okay. I got it all, it was pretty basic.
Okay, all those in favour of the motion? Those against? Motion is carried.
Okay. And the next one, be it resolved that the town of Holyrood donate $500 to the Ganny family. And that would be in care of Kimberly Ganny, mom, to go towards their family support. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Crawley, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Further discussion?
And I just want to say, I taught Sarah, and she's gone through school with Adam, my son as well. So our hearts are with you, and just let you know that we are there to support you, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I've been through the journey myself, and it's difficult, it's scary, and I tell you, having that level of support around you from family and friends, that phone call you get when you really need it most, the trips back and forth to the hospital, you know, to leave. I wasn't going to go here, but anyway, I'm going to sit down with an IV and, you know, getting chemo for 2.5 hours and, you know, get out of that and walk across the hall and get zapped with radiation up here. It takes a toll.
Yeah.
Takes a toll, it's difficult. But I tell you, when you got the support of your family and your friends and the whole community cheering and rooting for you, I tell you, it do make a world of difference.
And she does, she has everyone behind her.
And, you know, as I said earlier, you know, we are there for her and her family. Our thoughts and prayers and our support is there. And my message, you know, thankfully, I'm 5 years now in a clean record, a clean bill of health. I came out okay, it's good. I've no doubt Sarah's going to do the same thing. But my little bit of advice to her is the line I always use, it's just a little bump in the road. And you'll get through that bump, Sarah, and
Yeah.
things will be back to normal.
And she is amazing. She's
Full of
so
smiles.
sweet and kind, and she's full of smiles, and she's just bubbly in life, and you're just happy when you're around her. She's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or comments on that motion? All right, if not, all those in favor, those against, motion is carried.
Okay, and the last thing is our bank book balance. Thank you for paying some of your taxes. Is $52,748.92. Keep those taxes coming, so we can pay the rest of the bills.
Moved by Councillor Crowley.
Yeah, don't even need to move it. That was just the bank book balance.
Oh, that's right, the bank bills, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, and I am finished.
Okay, that's it for corporate services, thank you very much. And now, new business, so I'll do the go-around, starting with Deputy Mayor Woodford.
Nothing for me this evening.
You're
I'm tired. I'm talked out.
Yeah.
Councillor King?
I just have a few points from the Heritage Committee. So I'm gonna, first of all, the upstairs is coming along really well. I was talking to Linda today, and she has nothing but praise for the staff that's down there working. And upstairs is going to look absolutely fantastic when it's all completed. Okay. They're looking forward to students this summer to help out because, I mean, let's face it, all these people that are down there are about a little older in years. And, you know, 2 hours of beating around the museum takes a toll on people. So they're looking forward to having some students down there to be able to do some of the tours, and everything is going great. They got a donation this week from the Harbour Grace Museum of some glass cabinets, and the staff went out and picked them up, and they're going to make good use of those in the coming days and weeks. They've submitted some applications to the government with regards to entertainment for Come Home Year. They've already booked Fergus O'Byrne and Jim Payne, and also the fact that the Hat Lounge has offered up their facility to help out as well.
Excellent.
So they're hoping to get that, and more to follow on that one once they get to order. And the other one is there's other bands that have donated their time. They're just waiting now to fill in the blanks with regards to either whether it's going to be the Legion or the Hat Lounge. So as soon as they make contact and make confirmation, I will make sure that everybody knows about it. And the last one, they're planning for the big opening for the 24th of May weekend. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Councillor Crowley?
Nothing at this time.
Good. Councillor King? You're good. Councillor Windsor?
No, sir, I'm good.
Councillor Buckle, you can wrap it up.
Yeah, just one quick point. I'd like to wish all the mothers a happy Mother's Day this weekend, and relax and enjoy your day. Thanks.
I've never even thought about that.
Okay, thank you very much.
I did, but it's
Here,
not the
here.
most relaxing day.
Okay, folks, that is the agenda, and the date of the next meeting is May 31st at 5:30 p.m. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Moved by, all hands go up now. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Windsor. All those in favor? Those against? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much, folks.